Okay, today is March 30th, 2011. My name is Linda Ho Pache. I'm recording this interview for the 500 Oral History Project for Vietnamese American Heritage Foundation. And we are in Arlington, Texas. And can you please tell me your names and how you spell them, please?
My name is Thanh Nguyen, and Thans is my first name, and my last name Nguyen, Nguyen.
Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Lương Lê, spelled Luong. That first name. Last name is Lê, Le.
And where are you from?
I'm from Vietnam.
What town were you born in?
I was born in Cam Ranh Bay in South Vietnam.
And where were you born?
I was born in Cam Ranh Bay also.
Oh, okay. And
Vietnam.
when were your birthdays?
My birthday is September 30, 1960.
And when is your birthday?
Mine is August 7, 60.
So you were born in the same year?
Yep.
And what did your parents do for a living in that small town? Was it small?
Yeah, it's small. It's very small. If you compare to the town over here. My parents was a fisherman, and he doing the farm work.
And do you remember helping when you were small?
we do. Yeah, when we was young, every children have to help the parents in order to survive over there for the whole family.
Was it hard work?
Yeah, it's very hard work compared to the children over here.
Mm. And what did your parents do for a living?
My parents was a farmer, and my mom and dad has a farm, like we plant like sweet potato, corn, and you name it, everything. And we raise chicken, pig, and we helping, everyone helping families growing together.
Wow. Did you also help your family?
Yes.
From a very small age? What did you help them do?
I remember when we was young, we followed them to the farm and then do whatever we can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so how was your childhood like? Do you remember it being a very difficult life?
I mean, economically, it was hard. But it was, when we grow up, at first it was not a communist. So it's still okay. I mean, mentally we still, we have family and religions and everything's good. So even though it's hard, but we still, survivable, and mentally we're very good.
And what religion were your families?
We are Catholics.
Okay. And were your families originally from the south or originally from the north?
From the north.
We're from the north.
Both families?
Both, mm-hmm.
And our great-grandparents escaped from north to south at 1954.
And what town or city did they live in the north?
Xuân Ninh.
It's
Xuân Ninh, Quảng Ninh.
Quảng Ninh in north, very up north.
Border with
China.
Chinese.
Oh, wow.
With China.
China, yes, sorry.
So both your families were from the same town in the north, and
Yes.
both of them came to the same town in the south.
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Do you remember why they told you why the family moved?
Yeah, because the religion prosecution from the Viet Cong, that was the Viet Minh at that time, and that's the main reason. And they, he wasn't allowed to practice their religion, so that's why they left the town.
My great grandparents say like it threat your lives a lot. Like you had to do this, do that. Yes,
Really?
from the Viet Minh, and they know they had to escape.
So they all came down to the same town in the south.
Yes.
Right. Usually, at first, they went with the priest of the village, and they went along all the south to find the land to settle in. And finally, the priest was saying that that this land was, which means I'm talking about Kamran, they have the mountain in the back, and they have the sea in the front, so they can do both kind of work. They can be a fisherman, they can be a farmer. So that to be for back then, you can have one. Like plan A and a plan B.
Yeah. And do you know how many families followed that priest?
I believe it was like about 100 families.
Wow.
Yes.
And do you remember the priest's name?
Yeah, it was Father called Tan, Thanh, and his last name also Le, L-E.
And what do you remember about practicing religion when you were small?
We were, maybe you say,
Very happy. Very happy.
practice.
Young age at church, and we had what we call at church we had draw team and
So you like that? Okay. For me, I kind of, and how the young children, my parents used to wake me up early to go to church. I didn't like it at all. I mean, at a young age, you like to sleep, but later, like when I grown up, I look back, I think that should be should be some discipline and should be some basic of the religion that you have to follow. But the thing, the only thing I don't like to wake up at 5 o'clock
Every
in the
day?
morning. Sometimes, most of the day. So that's the thing I didn't like back then when I was young.
Yeah. And was there a church in the town, or did you have to go anywhere else?
Yeah, there's a church in the town.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was it a big one?
It's a small
very
one.
big, but very
Yeah, but we had to walk. We had to walk to the church.
How long?
I think it's about half a mile or so.
Your
yeah.
house is like half a mile.
Yeah, mile to half a mile to a mile. That's
Yeah,
it.
that's max.
Yeah.
But when you were young then, I mean, it
Far.
feel like longer than that.
So did you get baptized when you were a baby or when you were older?
When we was baby.
When a baby, my parents didn't ask me for that. I think I was like 3 or 4 days old. They already baptized me.
And so how many brothers and sisters did each of you have?
I have 7.
Oh, wow.
I had 6.
Oh, and what number were you?
I was the first one.
Oh, so oldest boy?
Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
Were you?
And then-
Did you feel very special since you were the first boy? Did you get treated differently?
I think when I was young, I was get treated differently because I was the first of my parents' son. But later, you kind of you get more sister and brother, so you kind of
Yeah.
get kind of back in the place and
Wow.
stuff. But then, when I grow up, then I have my power of being the first in the family.
And what kind of power do you have?
Well, in Vietnamese tradition, usually the oldest used to have, like you next to your father. That's what they're saying. We have a saying like "Quyền huynh thế phụ," which means that you could replace your dad. I mean, looking out for your siblings, and that's the power that the
So do
Vietnamese
you-
family have.
Do you feel like you make some decisions that the rest of your siblings have to follow?
Yes, definitely.
Like
Yeah.
like what, for example?
I mean, like they can ask me, if they can go to play or somewhere, or I can have the power to say no or yes.
Wow.
And
And how many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have 4 brothers and 1 sister.
And what number are you?
I'm number 2.
Number 2. Are you the oldest sister?
Yes.
So you have one older brother?
1 oldest. Yes.
Okay. And what do you remember about your playing with your siblings, or do you?
At young, yeah, it has a lot, but thing I remember is, let me see. My father passed away when we was young. I just 13. Yes. At the wartime. Yes.
Was he in the military?
Yes. When he's in military, the family has 6 siblings. Yes, fun.
Yeah.
Working hard to helping parents go to school and have play. And the thing I remember is sometimes when you in hurry and then call one, another one, hurry, go to school. Yes.
And so when did you two meet for the first time?
Oh, we went to the same school, same class.
Yeah.
So we didn't remember when did we meet. We must be very young, you know.
Yeah.
We start, you know, in the same village, same class, same school. So.
Same church.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you knew each other forever.
Yeah. We were
Yeah.
just young, yes.
Yeah.
Not very far. My house, to see his house. I could see it by my eyes.
Yeah, it's not far away.
Not far away.
And when did you fall in love?
I think I have to say that when we came here,
Yeah, when we came here.
yeah, then you know, we like each, you know, came away from the country, and then we start, you know, seeing each other more, and then
So when did your families plan your wedding, or when did you decide to get married?
you know, we decided to get married in 1984.
And you were already here in the United
Yes.
States.
Yeah, we came here in 81.
Oh, okay. And tell me about what you remember about the war. What's your earliest memory of that experience?
I remember, I think it was 1965, 66 when my dad, you know, was in the army, and I used to live in the same, I mean, the camp that belonged to, you know, the soldier families. And I remember, you know, like, don't see my dad, you know, it's like every day he came to go to the battle, and then just come back like once every week or 2 weeks or something like that. And at night, you know, we did hear the, you know, like some of the bomb, you know, went off, stuff like that. And sometimes, you know, I still sleeping and still dreaming, you know, some of
Really?
that. Yep.
So was it very frightening?
I didn't say. I mean, when I was like 4 or 5 at that time, I didn't see that frightening. But you know, later when you get grown up and you think about it, then you know then it's the scary parts, you know, start coming up. Yeah, it's just there are a lot of what if, and you know,
Yeah.
that. So
So do you remember hearing bombs as well?
When I'm young, like 5 years old, my parents go to with the plan of the government to another town, another city far away from the original town, to have a new life. But at that time I'm about 5. They're fighting every day with companies, fighting with the army in that town every day, in the morning, evening, we never know. And then very innocent young children, I just look at they fighting, you know, smoke, and I witnessed injury and die.
Really?
Yes,
You were so little.
yes. And then one night my father just rushed into the house and he pushed me to the door and said, "You stand here." I didn't know what happened, but I obeyed his order. And then he hid somewhere in the house. After that, I didn't see him. But later on, I know they fighting outside. My dad run from the battle into the house. Yes, that's scary. But not long, very long after that, our families moved back to the town, original town. That's how I remember. It's scary.
And what was that town called? The other
Hiệp Nghĩa. Yes.
And when did you say your father passed away? Fighting in the war?
No, actually, accident. Someone put the grenade, not the grenade, like a grenade,
The
but
mine.
to the road.
Oh no.
And then he slept in his day off, and then go for hunting. But someone put it in the road, and then he stepped on.
And he passed away in
Yeah,
1973, right?
Yes. So,
Oh wow.
yes.
So later on.
Yeah.
That's later on.
And do you remember if would people do special prayers during that time, or do you remember anything about what kind of role religion played in your lives during the war?
Yeah, I think I always remember at that time, like on every mass, every session of the church, they always pray that, the war would be ended and that people no longer, killing each other. They're talking about the North and the South. They were all Vietnamese. And there are a lot of, there's like songs, and there are a lot of, the elderly that lost their son or daughter. So there are a lot of suffering at that time, and so and sometimes people don't have anywhere to run to except to God, and that's when they a lot of praying for peace.
Do you remember what those songs were called?
Yeah, like we have a song like we asked Mary to look over the country.
What is that name in Vietnamese?
Say mẹ ơi đoái thương xem nước Việt Nam, like look at the Vietnam, and they asked Mary to do that. That's the one song that I like and I still remember vividly.
And they say that Mary appeared in Vietnam
Yes.
at some point.
It's
So
Vang.
what kind of stories would you hear about that? Do you remember any stories about?
I don't exactly remember. I just know the place. It's in the middle of the country, in Hue, and that Mary came out to people, but I don't know exactly. Do you know
The
that story?
location is very dangerous at the time, wartime, and it's far away from our city. We were young, that's why we don't know much about that.
Right.
Yes, but we know in the church they talk about that, and that. Yes.
And how old were you both when your parents decided to take you away from Vietnam?
I was 20. We left there in 1980.
So did you already have a job? Were you
Yeah.
working at the time?
So, like I said, we working when we work before we start working. So, but it's not like a job
job in
like
here.
over here.
No,
but we
we
just
don't.
helping. I was 20 then, and I was a fisherman, and also I was a farmer too. So it depends on the season. There's a rowing. The planting season. Then we work in the farm, and then the fishing season. Then I help my dad doing. The
It's so difficult at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After communists took over the South. So difficult.
What do you remember about 1975? Where were you, and what did you think when Saigon fell?
Yeah, but Cam Ranh even fell before Saigon. I still remember Cam Ranh fell March of 13, and I was like 15 back then, and I remember myself and my cousin came out to the road, and we saw a T-54 tank came over. But then they didn't shoot or anything, so and then the tank just stopped, and then we kind of approached the tank, and then the guy came out and asked, do you want to climb up here to the tank? And we just can't climb up. They look very innocent, but I think because they were soldiers too, they also soldier, and but they look pale and very thin.
They did.
Yeah, but they're very polite. especially at that time.
I thought,
But
And
then,
were those soldiers from the north, or
yeah, from the north.
no.
so they had a different accent?
We also speak the north accent, so that's with them. That's okay with us. We understand them and everything. And the thing later on, we found out that they were being instructed by by their leader, saying that they had to be nice to people in order to lure people to get with their side. So that was the whole thing. But then later, in a few years later, the true color came out.
So at the time you were 15, you thought it was pretty
Right.
fun to ride on the
No.
tank.
It is not.
Not
Yeah,
fun.
it's okay, but we also kind of
Scared. We don't-
like we kind of tired of the war. Also, like in my side, I have my two uncles passed away during the war. That's my dad.
And what were
brothers.
their names?
The first my first name is Vung Vung, and the other uncle is Tot, Tot. Yeah, they both passed away during the war in the battle.
And did any of your relatives pass away? Don't know.
My relative, my dad's the only one child, but in my other side, we don't have any. But relative far distant, not very far distant, yet we have.
Mm-hmm.
Like most of every family,
Yeah, usually
Yes.
most family we have at least.
And what do you remember when Kamran fell?
Myself was very scared. We don't know what will happen,
Mm-hmm.
but just pray. And I didn't cross nearby the tank or anything. I just looked far away and I said, I don't know what will happen.
So what happened after?
You mean after Cameron? When at first, when they came to the town, they start living. I'm talking about the North soldier. They start living, with the people. And later, when I grow up, I found that that's one of their, strategy, that they live with people so that the South cannot bomb them, because the people, of the people living there too. So they should live in front of your like
Inside your house, outside your
Yeah.
house, in your yard,
in the porch, in the yard.
backyard.
Yeah.
Did they live in your family's house?
Yep.
Yes. The
Yeah.
cooking, do everything around your house.
Yep. The children, try to protect themselves. If
Yeah.
they live outside, like in somewhere outside, they may be bombed by
They
the
have
South.
big gun.
Yeah.
Do you remember them clearly?
Yeah.
Were
Yes.
they polite?
Yeah. At that
Yes.
time, they still
That time
still
very-
was. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. And sometimes they were thinking. I still thinking that they were also soldiers.
Yeah, they're soldier,
They're
yes.
not like the guy later on being the government and stuff. That's
Yeah,
different. This
yes.
just like the plain old soldier. So they may be that he may
So
have
how
some-
did your lives change with the new government?
For me at first, because my father was a South Vietnamese soldier, and also I was my family is a Catholic, and it real hard. I mean, like when I was young, it's just like economy problem. But when you get grow up, when I got into the high school and ready to go to college, then you start being looked at, to be selected. If you are a Catholic, you're very hard to be selected to attend college. If your father or parents, being a South Vietnamese soldier, you're kind of very hard to be chosen to attend college.
And did your father have to go to a re-education camp?
He was in the low rank, so he only go like 10 days, and then came back out.
And he did come back.
Yeah, he did come back, and planning the escape later on.
Yeah.
Yep.
And how did your life change after the new government came?
Like everybody else, they had very tight, like rule of them. if you move to another city, not very far, like few miles, and stay overnight, you had to have permit from your local government.
Wow.
Yes.
And what else?
You cannot bring food like sugar, like rice, not over a few kilograms. No, none.
So your family farmed. What did they take anything from the farm?
Yes, we had to pay tax. Doesn't matter you make enough for your family or you don't. You had to pay by the what we call, by the land you own.
By the acres?
Acre, yes, like something like that.
So life was hard before, and now life was even harder. More
Sure.
difficult.
So difficult.
So what did you hear your parents, when did you first hear them talk about escape?
I didn't hear talk about escape, but I mean I saw people leaving the village, every day, and then there was one time that I saw a strange person, came to my house, and he dressed like a North Vietnamese soldier. The reason, just like why my wife said, when you go from one place to the other, you have to have permission.
Mm-hmm.
So that guy, he dressed like a North soldier, so that he's not being paid attention by the other people. Said, okay, so this guy is one of us. I mean, that's the North saying that. So that way you try to, kind of like kidding them, don't
Yes.
let them know something. And then later I saw I hear they talking with my dad about, building a boat. And then at that time I realized, okay, now we in the process of,
And did anybody in your family know how to build a boat, or did you have to pay someone?
Yeah, my usually in the small village, that's a tradition from the north too, that people helping. This family will help the other family building the boat, and then later on you will help them. And because in the north, that village is from, near Ha Long Bay, that we came from there. So people, most of them, the elderly, know how to making boats.
Sailboat.
And the sailboat.
Yes.
And we made like that.
And when did you hear your family first talk about escape?
My mom's very busy to work to take care of her children, and actually, in the village, you hear about the stories escape every day, and then every time you knew someone's escape already, you think like, what's next and what we doing, what we going, but you had to have money. To share with someone, have boat to go, and secret plan. My house, zero. My mom wants to, but we don't know how to do it. Because at that time, you don't have money, you cannot buy the boat.
Yeah.
They don't let you.
Right.
Even you have money. And my chance, by luck, in the reality, has one uncle. He needs someone to guide his wife to escape. But he could not.
Why not?
Because they has a deal with the ship owner, something I don't know. But he said they live in different town in Saigon. They didn't know much about the location we live nearby the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And then he asked me, could I help him to guide his wife to escape? Yes, I said yes. And we just talking like that for a few years. And then one day he said, today it's ready, go. And before that few days, he said, you stay home that day? He said, okay, I stay home. I said, now go. And then I pick his wife at another home, go to the beach. And the boat's ready right there.
So, which uncle, which this one? Older uncle?
My mom's cousin.
Okay.
Yes.
We still call uncle, you know. But
Yeah, my mom's first cousin.
So just you, only you out of all
Only
your-
me.
Wow.
Nobody else.
And what year was this? What date?
Same time, 1980.
it was July 23rd.
Oh, yeah.
Were you on the
1980.
same boat?
Yep.
Yes, coincidence.
Yep.
I didn't know what boat. But
No.
overnight I very seasick and then I go up. I saw him.
And the boat that she was in is my family boat. You know.
So tell me about the preparations that you heard happen to prepare the boat.
There are a lot of things doing, like, you know, when we start making the boat, we had to bribe the government first,
Okay.
in order to, you know, make the boat. And in the process of making the boat, we put, you know, the rice inside there,
Okay.
and then, you know, all kind of different. It's called like dry food.
Uh-huh.
In you know, and I remember that we put it in there 2 times before that, and then we heard that somebody already knew that we put the food in there, so we took it out and throw it away twice. And then the 3rd time, you know, then that was about the time to leave, so we were safe.
And how many people did the boat fit?
When you say fit, I don't know how many it's fit. It's not that big, but there were 88 people in there, and I think it's like 9 meters long by 3 meters wide,
Wow.
and over here I think maybe it only fit 2 or 3 people.
Oh my.
Yep.
So your family was the one that built the boat, and then everybody that was a passenger would pay a certain amount
Yes.
to get on the boat.
Yeah.
Wow. And then what do you remember about the escape?
This just was so scary, you know, like on the first 2 weeks, we had people that came from Saigon, that you know, they start getting out, and then you don't want, you know, the people out there to know or to have some hint that you. Yeah, I was saying that you know, you don't want to giving out any hints that you're about to leave, so you have to be very careful, because it could be, you know, death, or, you know, that, I mean, like the communists, they didn't want you to live, just because that, you know, they want in a country, they want people work so that they can get paying tax and stuff. So they don't want to go to live, because one thing is that they don't have enough people there. Another thing is that they don't want to be looking, you know, bad. That
right.
they prosecute on people, so that people have to live. So in 2 weeks we have people coming out, and then we had to take them to, you know, in the mountain, I mean, if you know Cameron Bay, it's just like a bay, and it is covered by mountain. So we have people, and then we had to take them by boat to live on them, you know, in the mountain. And then we tell them that, okay, next week or whatever the day we came out, and because they're in the mountain, so they know our boat. I mean, we had a sailboat, so they can look at the sail and recognize, you know, which boat is which. We tell them, okay, this is that color. So on that day we came out, and they start descending from the mountain and get onto the boat and leave. But they have to, the longest for 1 person or 2 person, they live up there like 2 weeks in the mountain.
No light, no nothing.
Yeah, they can cook, but they have to be very careful, because people can see the smoke and stuff like that. So, yeah.
And so what color did you make the sail?
Usually the boat that, you know, just in my village, they have the brown, because it's being I don't know what they call it, but, you know, the sail is just like made by canvas, and you have to have some different kind of trees. You cook that up, and you make it more harder. To be broken by wind. And one we have in brown color, and the other one we have like in a navy color. So we have a front sail and the back sail. The back's in brown color, the front is like navy color.
And you had to make it seem like a fishing boat, right?
Yeah, it had to be like a fishing boat.
And the day of, you mentioned that, so everybody came down from the mountain to get onto the boat,
Right,
and
yeah.
then was it at night or during the day?
Yeah, it was like we have one big boat and we have 3-4 small boats, so that people start getting out to the small boat first. I think about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the small boat, some of them came out and get them, and then the big boat finally came, and then all of them, get onto the big boat, and we left the country at 8 o'clock, on July 23rd, and yeah, so it over there in Vietnam, 8 o'clock is very dark, I mean, especially in the tropical country, it's not like 8 or 9 o'clock in the summer here. It's still, but over there it's dark, and we left.
And was it a hard journey?
Yeah, it a hard journey. But when we came to get to the refugee camp, we heard a lot of more even horrible journey, and then we found ourselves that okay, our journey is still. It's hard, but it's still very, very lucky compared to the other.
Nobody died.
So tell me about it. What did you run out of food or water? Did you know which way to go?
Luckily, my parents and also some of my parents' cousin, they've been, they fishermen, so they know how to look at the star, how to look at the waves. And they know which direction they're going.
And which direction were you trying to?
Yeah, we're trying to go to Philippines. Yeah, and it took us 7 days and 8 nights to go across from Cam Ranh to Philippines. And in the middle, we ran into some of the small hurricane storm. But it's not, bad. Yeah.
Scared, but
yeah, it's scary because you look, always water and then wave with, we call it the white hat wave.
Wow.
And it's very, scary. But
so did the boat ride the waves or the crowd?
yeah, it's right away. Yeah. But when you go roller coaster, and you imagine you doing that for a day or two, I mean, you get tired of it.
And nobody fell out of the boat?
No, luckily, yeah.
Were there any children on the boat?
Yeah, there are a lot. Yeah, there are a lot of children. I would say like 2/3 of children.
Oh, wow.
Of that 88 people.
And how many of your family members came with you?
All of my family. Let's be my 7 siblings, plus my parents, plus 3 of my cousin also, so it'd be 12.
Wow. And then it was just you and your cousin's wife.
And my uncle and
your uncle's wife.
and me and
Yeah, but we, in that village, we know, one
everyone.
another.
Yeah,
real
we know
well.
everyone
So
very well.
It's not like
big family.
yeah.
Yes.
And when you're out there on the boat, and if
Yes,
you're not
everybody's
closer,
so
you're
close.
still
Yeah. We pray day and night and evening.
So were most of the people in the boat Catholic?
I would say most, but
Most.
there would be some Buddhism also. And I remember there was time that that we have ran into that storm. He was saying, whatever religion you are, you just pray in your religion, So
We ready.
yeah,
Wow. And so how hard was it in the refugee camp? Was it very difficult to live there?
well, it before when everything is just a reference. Like right now, for the condition, if we're living here and then come back to the camp, it's really hard. But it's not that hard when we came from a hard country, we came to camp, and we feel like it's already a good place to live. You get you can say whatever you want to say. You can go to church. You have being fed by United Nations. So it
We
was
take care
okay.
well of.
Yeah, we were well fed, and plus that the Philippines people, they're very nice too. I have to say that make it a lot better.
And how long were both of you at the refugee camp?
For myself, I lived there 6 months in Palawan.
And where did you decide to go?
You mean to the U.S.?
Mm-hmm.
Because my parents have a cousin living here in the USA.
Oh, okay.
So then he sponsored our
And
family.
where was he living?
In Amarillo,
Amarillo?
Texas. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And what about you? How long were you in the refugee camp?
I also lived there like longer than you lived. It's like
7 or 8 months.
8 months. Yeah, 8 months.
And who sponsored you?
I stayed with the family of my uncle and his sister family, and I have another uncle. The uncle there sponsor whole family to Amarillo also.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So you both ended up in Amarillo?
Yes.
Yeah, but then she went to Amarillo and then she went to Oklahoma City.
After that.
Why? Why did you go to Maryland and then Oklahoma City?
My uncle's sister has her husband's side in Oklahoma, and I went with her to Oklahoma City. Yes.
And all of your brothers and sisters, your whole family went to Amarillo?
Uh-huh, yeah.
Were you one of the only Vietnamese families there?
No, we have there are several people on the same village. They're already there already.
So you had a little village already.
Yeah.
And did you help each other?
Yeah, we do helping each other by find job, find the place to live and also accommodate. Like when we first came, we had to live with my uncle my cousin, my dad's cousin, for about 1 or 2 weeks, and then they find a house for us to live in.
And how did you find a job?
We do have the USCC over there. They found a job for my dad and for my mom.
And what did they do?
My dad was working for as the janitor for they call a school called TSTI, Texas Institute, Texas some kind of the vocational school. And then my mom was working for IBP with the beef processing company.
And what about for you? Did you all go to school or?
Yeah, when I came to the Texas, it's kind of Texas back then. If you were 20, they don't let you go to high school anymore at that time. So, but I came and asked them let me get in and study English. And then after a while, I have another friend in Oklahoma City saying that in Oklahoma City they let people of 21 years of age get into the high school. So that's why I also left Amarillo and went to Oklahoma City and attend high school over there.
Wow! And so when did you graduate high school?
1983.
Wow! Were you very proud? What high school did you?
Glasson High. Glasson High School. Yep.
And you were already in Oklahoma City by that time?
Yes.
And what did you find work or?
Yeah, find work. Someone in the family of my aunt find a job for me in the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And how did you meet again?
We just next to close to each other. We know. We know from back then. So she wrote me, I wrote her. So yeah.
So you were trying to keep in touch together?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because you were friends, or?
Yeah, we were friends, classmates in Vietnam,
Yeah.
And so when did you decide to get married?
I think we decided to get married in 1983.
Yeah.
Yeah, about that time. And I was still young, compared to the age now with like 23 or something like that. And I asked my dad that, would you mind that, if I get married now? He said, no, just go ahead.
And what about your parents? You had to write to them in Vietnam?
Yes, but at that time, the letter come back and for 6 months to a year.
Wow.
Yes.
So did you just wait? for?
I just wait after he has his dad mom permission, approval, and then we proceed to get married.
Were you worried about your family back?
Yeah, very
Yeah.
much. Yes.
So what did you hear from them, or?
Just writing letter, yes, and then I work and go to study English at night, work daytime, ceremony, send back to them, and gift and everything. Very difficult when they receive it also.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Did what they receive it?
Yes,
Yeah.
but how much they want to give it to you, that all you have.
Yeah.
Yes,
So sometimes they wouldn't get everything you sent back.
no,
That's hard.
yes.
So when did the rest of your family join you in the United States?
Just a few months ago, my last sister just came.
Finally.
3 months.
Yeah, but I think in 84,
85,
no, in
84.
84, her
But my brother.
brother
and
also escaped from
family
Vietnam
escaped
and
from
came
Vietnam.
from the same camp that we were in the Philippines also, and then he came here in late of 84
84.
also.
Yes.
And then the rest of your sisters came after?
And then my sponsor, we sponsor my mom, 95, and my another brothers, 2000 something.
Yeah, I mean 2005, right? Mom.
Just-
And then the sister just came last year.
Oh wow! Finally, so
Finally.
finally the whole
yeah.
family.
My
So,
sister and
so everybody in her side is
niece.
coming here now.
Yes.
So did you have a big party now that everybody's reunited?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
We did. Thank you, God.
And how did you find a Catholic? Did you find a Catholic church to go to when you were living in Amarillo or Oklahoma City?
Yeah, we at that time I think we have like about 50 or 60 families, and there was a the diocese of Amarillo. They know that there was the need for the Vietnamese Catholics, so the bishop helped led the community over there to borrow a small church, but there's a American priest who could speak Vietnamese.
Oh, he could speak.
Yeah,
Vietnamese?
Yes.
yeah. So he was there,
Oh.
and that's why we have formed a
Father
Vietnamese
An-
community there. Yeah, for Father An
An
Binh.
Binh.
I think her American name is
His-
the name is Father Bernard.
Father Bernard.
Yeah,
And he in Amarillo.
in Amarillo,
Oh,
Texas.
And
Yes.
in Oklahoma City, did you get married in a Catholic church?
We married in Amarillo.
Oh, okay.
Came back to where
So
my
you came
parents.
back to
yeah,
your parents.
yeah. But in Oklahoma City, there also the same situation. The diocese there, the bishop led the community, borrow a church. But there was luckier than Amarillo in Oklahoma City. There was 2 Vietnamese priests
Oh, okay.
over there. So and the Vietnamese people over there at that time is larger. There are more people over there compared to Amarillo.
And I was gonna ask you about, a lot of Vietnamese families, they have their ancestors on an altar.
Right.
Did your family practice that?
No, we don't do that. Even though we have the family, the picture, hang a wall, around the wall. But the Catholics, we don't have, the
Yeah.
picture of the ancestor on the altar.
Right. You just have them on the wall.
Right.
To
Under the altar.
under the altar.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
And why under?
Because in the Catholic faith say God in the highest, so no one else
Nobody
can
else.
be. That's the thing. But even but we respect the ancestor, no less than the other people. I would say that we remember them, we pray for them, and sometimes like in the we have like anniversary, we have to
Pray for
Dam
them.
Deo.
Dam Deo.
And you still practice it today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. sometimes like we pray for them. We start rosary that
For your father parents or for your grandparents?
my grandparents.
Grandparents.
Yeah.
And you still know the dates and everything?
We don't know, but we just like we do everybody in one day. In the New Year, we do everybody like that. So.
And do you cook any special food that day?
In New Year we do have special food already. Yeah.
And what do you usually like to cook? What are your favorite dishes to cook?
For the New Year, very tradition, but we have a Vietnamese tradition. We have another side American food to make the kid happy.
And we have bánh chưng,
Bánh
I think
chưng.
that is one of the thing that cannot be missed.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what about American food? What kinds of American foods?
We have barbecue. We have steak. Yes. Similar food. The kids like it.
Yeah,
Yes.
but we have to ask the children first.
Yes.
What do you want? What because you have to cook them American food. They have to, you don't eat much, but the younger.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you, when you pray for your ancestors, do you feel like they can listen to you? Do you ask for their help?
We Catholics, we don't feel like, we can, still, when we pray, we still seeing their face and stuff like that, but we have the belief that, if they were good when they were in the, on the earth, they would be in the, heaven by now. So, but we always pray that, look at the family of their children and then, guide them. Yeah, we do that.
And so when did you have your first child?
We have first in 86.
Okay.
It was in January of 86.
And was it a boy or girl?
Boy.
Oh. And how many more children did you have?
We had another girl, so we had 2 total.
2? Oh, do you have any pictures you want to share?
This Roger.
Yeah, this is my first boy. Wow, so if you can see it here. Okay. And
Also Roger.
it's Roger, huh? Yes.
That's Roger.
Okay.
That's another girl.
Yeah.
And what would you want them to learn from your experience? What do you want them to remember about your story?
The most thing is that they remember that they always. Even though you live here, you become American, but there's you have another country too, and you always, your skin, your hair, is reflect you from another country, and that country is Vietnam. And even though right now it's the communists took over, but still, that's still your country. Though it's just like a temporary. Your country will be permanent. It's always there. And whatever the young over here they're doing, they would be always try to study, trying to be a good citizen over here. And if there's a chance that you can come back and serve the people over there, then you can come, and especially learn the language. So when you come back there, you don't have to have a translator to to do the translate for you. You can speak the language.
Have you been back?
Yeah, once.
Yeah. When did you go back?
2000.
2000.
For me, she came back twice, right?
Yeah. And what was that experience like?
For me, if if I go to another country, then I don't have much thinking. But when I come back to Vietnam, then I still have a lot of thinking. Because I saw a lot of poor children over there, and then I start thinking about my children. What if we couldn't escape, or what if I couldn't escape? Then my children is it's same like that. So I get kind of mixed feeling you know. Yeah, and then I think that, you know, like, I am glad that I escaped, but then I sad that, you know, people are still living, you know, like that back home. And also I saw a lot of, you know, government officer, they try to, you know, it's not like, I mean, they're not like as polite as over here. I mean, sometimes you saw that, you know, they can hit anybody, and they can, you know, even now you can see in the newspaper that, you know, the police can kill anybody just for a small minor reason.
Right.
And that's happened over there. That's sad.
Yeah. And why did you go back twice?
At that time, 1995, my mom's still there, and she got sick, and I need to go back to see her for after 15 years.
Wow.
Yes.
And how did you feel going back to Vietnam?
Like my husband says, it make you very sad. It's not much chance. And then you see the poor children walk to school by barefoot, and, you know, dirty clothes or something like that, and make you very sad.
And your mother was still in the same town, Cam
At that time, yes. But at 1990, after 1995, she's here. Yes. I went back and I told her, you had to go. Because my brother, my sisters there, she doesn't want to go. And you had to go. She gets sick very bad. Yes. And the second time, we want my children to have the experience. Yes. That's why our family went back another time.
In 2000?
Yeah, 2000.
And what did your children say? What did they think?
They, you know, at first they kind of excited, you know, to see Vietnam. But then later, I asked my daughter that, you want to come and live there. She said no. I mean that there's the things that I, you know, that when she say no, then I start thinking that, okay, then I'm not sure if, you know, she didn't want to live there, to come back there because of the situation there or because of the language. But then when one time I asked her, why you don't want to live, she said, because of the Viet Cong, you know. And I don't know how much she understand, but maybe she just see the life of the younger children there. And
How old were they when they went back?
I think that my son was,
16.
16, yeah. And the girl was like 8.
Oh, they were.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there anything you would want your children to know about what you went through, or what would you like for them to know when they get older?
I like them to remember, proud to be Vietnamese American, and work hard, and if you could, and helping each other to growing, and return your knowledge for the community, for the country of the U.S., and also if you could helping people in Vietnam, if you can. Yes.
Is there anything else that I may have forgotten to ask, you think?
I think there are a lot of, I don't know what else. You have anything else you want to say?
How about you?
Well,
finally, I just want to say, like, so many thanks for everyone we met. Everyone did help us to have a life today. I know a lot we didn't know, but they help us direct or indirectly. By love, we be here and we have a good life today. That's all I want to say, and in my heart always, and remember that. And thank you, God, finally. And hopefully we could make something different to have a good life for everybody. Yes.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. We very much appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your coming and make the interview.